Alright, YouTube, so big news has come. We've learned casting news about Robert Eggers' Werewolf movie, which is by the same guy and director, Robert Eggers, who directed Nosferatu, which I absolutely loved, and it really kick-started my interest in horror movies a lot more. But one criticism I have heard of this movie from people who weren't fans of it, which I do think is a fair criticism, is that it was boring and kind of dragged on at some points, and maybe I could empathize with that. So I do hope that we do learn from that lesson, that everything that's good about Nosferatu is applied to this movie with its, visuals and horror elements, but also maybe a little more violence and action with werewolves, which I think will make more sense with werewolves being violent creatures rather than, vampires, even though Nosferatu Count Orlok is an absolutely disgusting vampire, and werewolves are, a little more, I feel like, at least in how I predict this movie to be a little more civilized, because as we know, or something I read was that I found super interesting, is that apparently, a lot of werewolves, don't always, become werewolves unwillingly and aren't really like these sympathetic fallen hero characters, that some of them are just pure evil and want to become werewolves and want to just destroy and wreak havoc, which is where the direction I'm hoping Eggers goes with this, which I'm sure he will, because, I read that. And speaking of things that I read it that Aaron Taylor Johnson rather, is going to be the werewolf. He was in Nosferatu as one of the characters who lost his wife and 2 children, which was very sad. Count Orlok, of course, devoured them because he's a sociopath, but I did like Aaron Johnson's character in that movie, and I think he'll do a great job as werewolf. Although one thing I am slightly concerned about is, apparently his Craven the Hunter movie was absolute garbage, but, I know that's not his fault. He's like, a great actor, and it's a different studio. I just hope that, people will realize that, that these are 2 completely different things, which I'm sure they will. But yeah, I do enjoy most of the work I've seen of Aaron Johnson, especially in 28 Years Later, which I did see. I know I haven't done a review vlog of it, but I did really enjoy his character in that movie. But I will say his character in that movie is probably significantly different from how I imagine this werewolf will be. I do hope the werewolf doesn't look too humanoid and too, but I do hope it looks absolutely scary and gives me almost nightmares in a good way. And I also know and read that Lily Rose Depp is going to be in this werewolf movie as well. What her role is, I don't know, but hopefully it's different from her role in Nosferatu, which she was absolutely incredible in. I think that's one thing that I heard that everybody enjoyed about the movie was Depp's performance, so hopefully she returns and gives a great one again, which I'm sure she will. So I'll say that I will hope that this design of the werewolf is both scary and creepy, but also has a hint of human to it, but a hint of a bad human to it. If you know what I mean, it goes back to the idea of these werewolves, are sort of the idea of original werewolves being like sociopaths, and just they're not just unwillingly bit and damaged heroes. Some of them are just screw the world, I want to wreak havoc and devour the village and destroy everything in my sight. I hope that's the direction that goes. I know I kind of already said that, so I'll conclude this vlog by saying I'm really happy to see both actors and actress return, and I also know William Dafoe, I believe, is going to be in this movie, but I think we all knew that because Robert Eggers loves him and loves putting him in his movies, and I sure as hell don't blame him, because Dafoe was definitely incredible in Nosferatu. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for soon. Can't wait for Christmas 2026. Until then, goodbye.